Hello, everyone. First of all, thank you for the invitation. This is something really amazing for a little French guy than me to come in such a huge country than yours. So thank you very much, and thank you for the organizer for this amazing conference. So as you can read, I will talk about what we did in terms of culture during the Paris Olympic Games to maybe help you to invent what you can pretend to do for the games if you can host it, if you can host one day. First of all, just in few seconds, who I am. I did Olympia 2 times, so I strongly recommend this amazing experience because it's gonna help you to develop your international network. Then, after this experience, I started a PhD in sport and modern history on the topic of the history of the French Olympic Committee since 1908 to 1952, which correspond to a very important date in France. And the only things I will tell you about that is our French Olympic Committee has been built against Pierre de Coubertin, and I will be able to talk more about that during the question. Just this is something that I've discovered in my research and something we didn't expect about. So actually, the French political leader were fighting against the renovator of the games. And my thesis is about how it's possible. I'm pretty sure you're aware about that distinction of an NOC and an organizing committee, but just to clarify the situation. When you host the game, your NOC has to create an organizing committee. Then things are quite strange because the NOC, which is actually the owner of the Olympic rings on the territory, just gave the rings to another institution. And then it starts a strange relation. In France, we maybe made a mistake at that point because we didn't find any position for our NOC inside the organizing committee. So people like me, working in the NOC, were a bit frustrated because we didn't know what to do for the games. Actually, we only have to promote Olympism as usual and to organize participation of athletes as usual. So what to do for this amazing moment? Our idea with my manager was to create a cultural department to reinforce our first mission, which is promote Olympism and culture. So we launched this department on 2022, 2 years before the games. The first year was about thinking what can we do with which actor. So we have to meet a lot of people, a lot of museum, a lot of personality that are responsible of culture all around Paris, but all around France. We have to show that now an NOC knows his own history, knows what to do. He's a cultural actor. This is not something very easy. And then I will talk about what we did in 2024 and what we will did for the future. We will do for the future. The first things we have to do is understand who we are. What is our history? To make that, you need documents, you need archives. And actually, we had all the minutes of the Paris 1924 games in our underground, but that was pretty everything. So we asked all of our federation, all of the sport actor in France, to give us their document, to show us what they have. And then we read it and we understood who we are, what is our missions. The second things we did is digitalize our photo from the Paris 1924 games that held 100 years ago. And we will build a complete program thanks to these unique archives. So here you can see few pictures of these archives. The thing is, the French leader at that time were the first to think to private the taking pictures inside the games. You must have an accreditation inside the stadium to take a picture. This is the first time, and the French imagine that to get some money because they have to pay the games. The works we did was also about putting some color in the photo to make it more modern, more appreciable for the people. The second things we did after we know what we are talking about is spreading our history. So it corresponds to do some media intervention, like here in China. It's also about doing some, giving some advice to museums that want to create some exhibition. Like for example, this is our national museum for medals, and they wanted to do an exhibition with all the medals of the games. So we were here to say, okay, this one is from Grenoble in '68. It is about blah blah blah. We also are able to answer to question of the press. We also are able to give, to loan some objects we have in our NOC and to provide some little notice with informations. And the biggest project we worked on was an exhibition called Empreinte 1924-2024 at the Tuileries Garden. Tuileries Garden is the garden close to the Olympic flame. You know that big balloon that goes to the sky? So we wanted to show to all the people the pictures of the 1924 game in this garden for free, and to explain them what is it about, how it transformed the city in terms of transportation, accommodation, and infrastructure also. So our mission was to interest the people who are not very familiar to sports. So we try to do a huge campaign on buses. This is not that very common that history is coming on the buses, but we thought this is the game, it's the time to do it. And then here you can see how it was at the end. So for free you can just have a walk on the garden, going to see the Olympic flame, and then just see the exhibition. 1 year after the games, we had new pictures. We had the 2024 pictures, as you can see, Djokovic. And you can see there is kind of a similar perspective with 100 years ago. So we have created another exhibition to celebrate the 1 year anniversary of the games, and we have created also these little books that is based on a lot of picture like that, with kind of a mirror of the new games and 100 years ago. So I'm gonna offer this book to the B course, so you will be able to consult it. So what I want to tell about this with this slide is that exhibition can also be a way of communication with IOC, because when you have to celebrate that kind of anniversary, actually we have nothing to say. It's just a 1 year anniversary. So it's a good pretext to be in the center of the discussion. So use culture as a way to communicate also. And also use culture in a funny way. So please, can you just launch this video? This is a way to enjoy history, which is sometimes seen as a cold area. So we try to make it funny.
Yippee-yo, yippee-yay. Yippee-yo, yippee-yay. Oula, oupla, la. Ça dit quoi le sang? On se pète à quelle heure? À quelle heure? Je suis dans le 12e, je fais partir des 12. Boss comme un boss, boss comme un boss. Je suis avec la poisse, pousse, fais la passe. J'ai des tic-tac, j'arrive en tac-tac. Hier j'étais dans le bus, pourtant j'ai grave du buzz. J'attends ma SACEM, pour l'instant les soucis. Elles veulent tout sucer depuis la salsa. Oh ma wife, 2-3 clopes en terre de salade. Sur Paname, je me balade. Je me resserre et je pense à toi. Oh my wife, 2-3 clopes en terre de salade.
Well, this is not a famous French song, but actually the thing is, we wanted that our old pictures can do something very modern. So we put this inside stadium during halftime of any Olympic events, so young generation can enjoy a very modern music on old school pictures. So it's also a way to democratize the culture of Olympism. Culture can also help you in some tricky moments. When you host the game, you have a lot of ceremony to provide. In Paris, we had the 130 years anniversary of the renovation of Olympic Games, and it has been supported by an Indian company, so thank you again for that. But the thing is, what do you do for that kind of moment? So thanks to the background, thanks to our knowledge of history, I was able to play as a Coubertin and explain the people acting the new renovation of the games. So being aware of how it happens allows you to be very comfortable to explain to people and to create a very good moment. And the second moment, a bit tricky, we had to host, and you already did it very well in India, in Mumbai, the year before, is the IOC session. But here the situation was, the IOC asked us, can you organize an opening ceremony for our session? And we want you to explain what is Olympism in France. Situation is, Olympism in France, as I told you, is a very conflictual and political thing. The French Olympic Committee has been built against Pierre de Coubertin. So how can we try to make it cooler than it is? So we thought, okay, let's do something artistic. So we asked someone to create a modern Coubertin again. And in between every speech of Thomas Bach, Tony Estanguet, Emmanuel Macron, we added some dance, some music, to try to make a good moment and to explain how all the game in France took place, the Paris 19th game, 1924, 2024. So use culture and arts as a good moment also. And finally, I'm talking about art. We also receive a lot of questions about artists that want to take part, to be involved in the games. Our role was to accompany them. So for example, we received an artist who wanted to create like a little book about the story of Pierre de Coubertin. She asked us to read that and if there are any mistakes to tell her. And in exchange, she can add the Olympic rings on the front page, so it's better to sell it. So the thing is, you will have, if you host the game, a lot of energy coming to you. Be able to catch that. And also to create some networking with the IOC. The IOC has an Olympic Foundation for Culture and Heritage based in Lausanne. They want to help former athletes, former Olympians that turn into artists now to succeed in their new lives. So you have a role to connect them with IOC and to help them to develop their arts. And finally, there is something I want to sensibilize you. It's about the preservation of iconic objects. You will host a lot of games, like the police and fireman games. A lot of things will be produced at that time. A lot of jersey, a lot of pins, or I don't know what. Just don't throw it. Keep it. Because if in 10 or 20 years you want to create a museum, you will need everything. And I'm going to show you how it happened in France. The organizing committee will disappear in few weeks. They called us and they say, here's the situation. We have a main hall full of boxes. If you do not come in 2 weeks, we throw everything to the bin. So we thought, okay, we don't have any Olympic museum in France. We have to save a lot. So with my friend here, we just took our own car and we tried to save and put in our own house the stuff, because we didn't thought about that before. So please do it, because you won't regret it. And then trading some object with the IOC, for example, in Lausanne, but also with the network of museums in the world, could be a very interesting thing for India. So this is all for me. I just finished with pictures of the Indian delegation 100 years ago at Paris Olympic Games. And I just wanted to tell you today that culture is a thing that you need to really think now, because it's a way to find a good position regarding the organizing committee. It's also a way to complete the global experience for spectators, because a lot of spectators are not that interested about sports events. They just want to live an experience, a global one. And Olympism is something very bigger than the sports things. Finally, after the game, it will ensure the legacy of your event. It's not only a one-shot, it's a nation building.